Let's proceed with the next type. We have the parabola. So still basing our equation of the parabola from the general second degree equation involving x squared and y squared, or x and y. So for the circle, you have two squared terms, coefficients of x squared and y squared are equal. The term xy is missing. Now for the parabola, same thing. The term involving xy will be missing. Okay. But there are two possible general forms of the parabola. Either we have x squared only or y squared only. Okay? So, for your parabola, it means that there is only one squared term and the term involving xy is missing. So, for the circle, there are two squared terms, their coefficients are equal, xy term is missing. For the parabola, there is only one squared term, the term involving xy is also missing. And for the parabola, these are our general forms. These are our general forms. And then we have also our standard forms for the parabola. So for the parabola, we have the standard forms, x minus h. The quantity squared is equal to 4a times y minus k. And this equation tells us that the vertex of the parabola. Okay, so we don't have enough time to derive this. So vertex basically is, it depends on the direction of the parabola. If your parabola is opening to the right, it's the leftmost point. If your parabola is opening to the left, it is the rightmost point. If your parabola is opening upward, it's the lowest point. If your parabola is opening downward, vertex is the highest point. Okay? So if your parabola is opening to the right, your vertex is the leftmost section and it will be located at HA. And then 4A, I will explain later kung ano yung 4A na yan. And then for our second standard form, if now the value here is negative, then our parabola will open to the left. Tapos, pag naging y minus k the quantity squared, so pag y squared na ngayon, yung parabola natin is either opening upward or downward. So, pag positive dito, it will be upward. Pag negative dito, it will be downward. Ganun pa rin, hk will be our vertex. Let me explain the parts of the parabola using this diagram here. So in this diagram, this is a parabola opening upward. So if this is a parabola opening upward, then it follows the equation. So pag upward or downward, x squared ang given. Pag to the right or to the left, y squared ang given. So kung positive, that will be upward. Pag negative, downward. Yung sa 4A, sa standard form. Dito naman, kung positive, negative, yung 4A, pag positive to the right, pag negative to the left. Okay? Also, dun sa general form, pag positive, di ba, ang nakalagay kasi sa general form is ax squared o kaya cy squared. Pag positive, upward. Pag negative, downward. Pag positive to the right, pag negative to the left. Okay? So, this is our parabola. Ano yung mga parts ng parabola? If this is our parabola opening upward, this will now be our vertex. And then, ang location niyan is HK. And then, meron tayong tinatawag na focus. Ang focus, ang distance niyan from the parabola is A. Ang distance niyan is A. And then, if we draw a line passing through the focus. Pag nag-draw tayo ng line dyan, passing through the focus, yung endpoints niyan, yun yung tinatawag natin. Okay, let me just label that. We can call this as Q prime. And then, ang distance ng F to Q to A, ang distance ng F to Q prime, or F to Q to A, F to Q prime is to A. So, yung Q hanggang Q prime, yung line segment na yan, ang tawag dyan Yan yung latus rectum. And then, pagpapansinin nyo, diba sa standard form nakikita natin yung 4A? So, ang ibig sabihin yan, dun sa standard form, yung 4A na yan, that is actually the length of the latus rectum. And then, from that latus rectum, pwede natin siya ma-solve yung A, which is the distance from vertex to focus. Ang vertex to focus, ang distance niyan is also equal to A. Okay? And then, we also have what we call the axis of symmetry. Pag sinabi natin axis of symmetry, parang mirror. Whatever you see on one side of the axis of symmetry is reflected on the other side. And itong axis of symmetry, it is actually the line that passes through the vertex and the focus. It is the line that passes through the vertex and the focus. And then, if you will also draw a line that is parallel, hindi na kasi nga natin define formally kung ano ang conic section. Pag nag-draw ka ng line parallel to the latus rectum, this is called the directrix. An important thing here also is the distance of the directrix from the vertex is also equal to A. Okay? So, yan yung mga parts. You have your vertex, you have your focus, you have your ends of latus rectum, and then you have your directrix, where the distance from vertex to focus is A. Okay? And then the distance from focus to one end of the latus rectum is 2A. 2A, 2A yan. Tapos yung distance from vertex to the directrix, the distance here is also equal to A. The distance is also equal to A. So, kailangan kasi natin yan para makapag-draw tayo ng ating parabola. And then, so yung parabola mo, pwedeng opening to the right, pwedeng upward, pwedeng downward. So, halimbawa, yung parabola mo is opening to the right. So, let's say that's your parabola opening to the right. Then, this will now be your vertex. And then, focus will be here. Pag kinonekta natin yung vertex and focus together, that is our axis of symmetry. So that's our axis of symmetry. Akit lang natin yung F. Our F will be there. And then, what else do we know here? The distance from vertex to focus is A. And then, drawing now a line again, line segment that is, line segment passing through F. That line is what we call our latus rectum. And if we will now label that, we will have Q prime. And what do we know? F to Q is 2A. F to Q prime is also 2A. And last element will now be our directrix. And our directrix is a line parallel to our latus rectum. Okay? So if we will label that, this is now our D prime. And what's the important thing about this? The distance from the vertex is also equal to A. And we can determine the coordinates of all the elements here. So if the vertex is at HK, so for example, our parabola is opening to the right. If you want now to consider the focus, what will be the coordinates of the focus? So what do we know? We know for a fact that if you now consider your vertex, coordinates ng vertex natin, di ba ang coordinates ng vertex natin is, ito yung value ng H, ito yung value ni K. Di ba? Based from vertex HK. Therefore, kung kukunin natin yung coordinates, ni F, di ba ano yung magiging abscissa ni F? Yung abscissa ni F is if you drop a perpendicular line from F, that whole thing there will now be itong buong to. Yan ang abscissa ni F. So, ano yung magiging abscissa ni F? Di ba ito yung H? Ano to? A. So, this is h plus a. Tapos, ano yung ordinate ni k? Ni h. Ni f, I mean. Diba? K pa rin. So, this will be h plus a and then k. Tapos, pag kinuha natin yung ends ng latus rectum, q, q prime. So, in this case, ano yung abscissa ni q? Diba, abscissa ni q is h plus a din. Abscissa ni q prime, ganun din. H plus a pa rin. Now, for the ordinate, pag kinuha natin yung ordinate ni q, di ba ito yung buo? Yan yung magiging ordinate ni, yan yung magiging ordinate ni q, which is k, ito, plus 2a. So, k plus 2a. K plus 2a. Tapos si q prime, since nasa baba, it will be k minus 2a. Then finally, yung equation ng directrix, kasi line yan, it is parallel to the it is parallel to the y-axis. So, kung ang line parallel sa x-axis, y-axis, it's x equals a constant. So, ano yung constant? Ito, h, di ba? H ito. Babalik tayo. So, minus a. H, kasi yung distance ng vertex to the directrix is a. So, that's h minus a. Ito na yung mga values. Ito yung kailangan natin i-supply. So, from the standard form, alam natin yung vertex. And then, pag nakuha natin yung standard form, makukuha natin si h at saka si a. Masusupply na natin si f. So, ito, this is only true pag yung parabola is opening to the right. Pag opening to the left, baguhin nyo lang yung orientation ng points. F will now be, f is always inside the parabola. Its distance from the vertex is always a. Pag nag-draw ka ng line through the focus perpendicular to the axis of symmetry, that's your latus rectum. Distance from focus to end of latus rectum is 2a. So, masusupply mo na rin yung QQ prime. And then finally, your DD prime. Pag kumpleto mo na yan, you can now draw your parabola. Let's have an example. So let's say we have this example. 2y squared minus 20y equals 8x plus minus 74. So if we will now reduce this to the standard form, what will be the procedure? Okay, so step 1, we isolate on one side the terms involving, in this case, y squared and y, kasi yun yung may power of 2. So let's isolate on one side, y squared and y. So nataon, nasa isang side na siya. So that's step 1. Step 2, make now the coefficient of y squared, in this case, y squared, be equal to 1. So we have 2y squared minus 20y equals 8x minus 74. Making now the coefficient of y squared equal to 1, we divide both sides by 2. So this gives us y squared minus 10y equals 4x minus 74 divided by 2, that will be 37. Then after that, we now proceed with, again, let's complete the square. So we always add. We get the coefficient 10 divided by 2, 5. We square it. We have get the coefficient of y, 10 divided by 2, 5, then we square it. And whatever you have added on the left side, make sure you also add it to the other side of the equation. After that, parang sa circles, we now factor, get the base, get the sign, get the base, everything raised to 2. So, yan lang pag-factor ng PST. And then, sa right side, we have 4x, 25. Minus 32 plus 25 is minus 12. Okay, so after factoring this, ang next na gagawin natin is make now the coefficient of the variable on the other side be equal to 1. Equal to 4 yan. So, anong gagawin natin? From these terms, factor out 4. So, factoring out 4, that should give us x minus 3. So, finactor out ko lang yung 4 para maging 1 ito. So, if you will look at this format, it now follows the equation, di ba? Pareho na siya ng equation na y minus k, the quantity squared, equals positive 4a, kasi positive dito, 4a times x minus h. you will now describe this, it is a parabola with vertex at x minus h. X minus h. So, ang h natin, 3. Y minus k. So, ang k natin, 5. Diba? So, we have a parabola with vertex at 3, 5, y. So, pwedeng, pag y is pwedeng to the right or to the left. Pag positive yun, to the right. So, with vertex at 3, 5, opening to the right, to the opening to the right. Since we have a parabola opening to the right, pwede na nating balikan yung ginawa natin kanina. Mag-kuhan tayo. So, if you like, you don't have to memorize yung mga values dun sa coordinates. You can actually always derive it. So, para madalian kayo, ganito na lang, mag-derive na lang kayo. Since you now have a parabola opening to the right, let's create what we call a dummy graph. So a dummy graph is just a graph that will guide us regarding the coordinates of our parabola. So let's call this as this is our Cartesian plane, y-axis, x-axis, that's the origin. We are considering the parabola opening to the right. So I'm not getting the values yet, the exact values. So this is the vertex, hk. So we have already the vertex, hk. And then after the vertex, we can now consider the axis of symmetry. And if that's the axis of symmetry, the focus is always inside the parabola. This is your focus. And the distance from vertex to focus is a. So, ano magiging coordinates ng f? Coordinates ng f. So, if this is hk, pag nag-drop ka ng perpendicular line, this is h. So, yung sa f, ano yung abscissa niyan? Ito. Which will be h, di ba? H plus this. Ano yun? A. Di ba? H plus A. And then, yung ordinate niya will be this one, which is already given, k. Then, q prime, ito yon. That's q prime, distance from f to q, 2a. So, ano yung abscissa ni q and q prime? Pareho ng abscissa ni f. H plus a lang yan. H plus a. And then, yung ordinate will be this part here. It will be k plus this, which is 2a. Eh, yung isa nasa baba. Kaya magiging k minus 2a. And then, the directrix is an equation. It's a line parallel to the latus rectum. So, distance from the vertex is a. So, ano siya? X equals h, babalik, minus h minus a. So, with those entries now, gagamitin natin itong details na to to draw our final parabola. And what do we know? Balik tayo rito. Ano yung h natin? 3, 5. Ano yung 4a? Diba 4a is 4. 3, 5, 4. So, sulat natin. Sulat natin yung mga values natin. So, h, ano yung alam natin? H is 3. K is 5. 4a is 4. So, with those values, ano ibig sabihin? If 4a is 4, a is 1. So, mag-substitute ka lang. So, ano yung vertex mo? hk, 3, 5. Alam na natin yan. And then, focus. h plus a. Ano si h? 3. Ano si a? 1. 3 plus 1, 4. K, 5. Tapos, q. Saan ang location ni q? H plus a, 4. And then, k plus 2a. Ano si 2a? 2a is 2. Diba? 2a is 2. So if 2a is 2, ano yung k? 5. 5 plus 2, 7. Tapos yung isa, 4. K is 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2, 3. 3. And then ito, ano yung equation? H minus A. H is 3. A is 1. 3 minus 1, 2. O yan na, kompleto na. So if we will now draw our parabola, we just locate those. Vertex. I-draw ko na yung parabola natin. Vertex is at 3, 5. Okay? Vertex is at 3, 5. And then, so yan yung vertex. Hirap kasi mag-draw kaya drino ko na kagad ha. And then, nasa na yun? Balik tayo rito. Focus, 4, 5. Focus. Focus is 4, 5. 4, 5. Ito yung focus. Okay? Focus, 4, 5. And then, Q is 4, 7. 4, 7, 4, 3. 4, 7. Nasaan yung si 4, 7? 4, 7. 4, 7 is here. That's your Q. That's your Q prime. Okay? And then, yung isa pa, directrix, x equals 2. So, the directrix, hindi pa nakadraw yung directrix, x equals 2. So, it will be this line here. X equals 2. That's your D prime. Okay? So, originally, wala pa dapat yan, itong blue na to. So, pag kinonekta mo si V kay Q, kinonekta mo si V kay Q prime, you get your parabola. And then, draw your directrix. There goes your parabola. Okay? So, pwedeng yung parabola mo rin is opening to the left, pwedeng opening to the right, pwedeng opening upward, pwedeng opening downward. So, ang kailangan mo talaga doon is to analyze using your dummy graph. So, for example, sige, magbigay lang ako ng isang illustration pa rito. So, normally, ang dummy graph, para hindi kayo mahirapan, mas maganda na i-draw nyo na lang yung dummy graph nyo sa first quadrant. Kasi remember, general naman yung values doon in terms of H, K, A, yung values natin. So halimbawa, yung parabola natin is opening downward. May shape ba tayong parabola na pwedeng isingit para mas accurate lang yung graph? Wala. Anyway, sige, balik tayo rito. So let's say our parabola is opening downward. So, I'm now choosing a parabola opening downward. So, now, maayos yung diagram natin na yan. So, I get the highest point. That will now be my vertex. It will be HK. Diba? So, parabola opening downward yan. That's your vertex. And then, if you now draw a line passing through V, that will be your axis of symmetry. And if that is your axis of symmetry, then it means your F is here. Your F is here. Distance A. Ito, yung latus rectum, Q prime. Okay, gusto mo dito yung Q, dito yung Q prime. Para lang. Tapos, parallel kay latus rectum is your directrix, D prime. Distance niya from the vertex is A. So, kung isusupply natin yan, the vertex is at HK, given. Paano mo kukunin yung focus? So, balik ka sa diagram. Huwag mong titingnan yung ginawa natin previous example kasi iba yung direction nun. So, ito yung focus. So, ano yung abscissa? Di ba? Pag nag-drop ka ng perpendicular line from F, ito rin yung abscissa, which is based dun sa vertex natin, di ba? This is H, this is K. Kaya, ang abscissa ni F is also H. Ano yung ordinate? Ordinate ito. Kung downward siya, it will be K, kasi ito K, bababa ka, so minus K minus A. Kasi A ito, di ba? A itong part na to. Kaya K, itong whole thing here, will be K minus A. And then, yung QQ prime, abscissa ni Q, mag-draw ka ng line mo rito, that will be the abscissa of Q, di ba? And kung yan yung abscissa ni Q, itong buong to, yung reading niya sa abscissa, it will be H ito, plus itong part na to. And di ba, distance ng F to Q is 2A. So this is H plus 2A. So yan yung abscissa ni Q, H plus 2A. Si Q prime, since nasa left, it will now be H minus 2A. Nasa left eh. And then yung ordinate, pareho ng ordinate ni F, K minus A. Ganun din si Q prime, K minus A. And then, for the directrix DD prime, it's an equation. It's parallel to the x-axis. So kung parallel to the x-axis, it's y equals something. Anong basis natin? Si K. Umakyat tayo. So plus K plus A. Yun yung equation. So again, yung HK, makukuha mo sa standard form. Yung A, mahanap mo rin from the standard form. Okay? So that will be for the parabola.